don't know whether I can say this one. Okay, anyway, okay, this is how I feel. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Rolling, rolling, rolling. My age, I just revealed my age.
Yeah. But then I was gonna add on with the
90s child. How are you?
Good. Is Taiwan better now to you?
Okay lah. I mean, being in a foreign land, actually, I'm very sensitive. So I do feel like sometimes like slipping into like, I wouldn't say slipping into depression, but I would say like I can feel my mental wellness like slipping a little bit sometimes, like up and down, like not as stable as I was when I was in Singapore. But that's very normal, I feel. I mean, every time I'm overseas for a long time or when there's a lot of unknown, then it happens to me lah. I don't know whether it happens to everybody, but it happens to me.
At least you're like conscious of it, so that's the first step, right?
Still sucks though.
It definitely still sucks, but I mean, at least awareness means you can do something about it and like consciously like take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I'm like the only one. The kids are counting on me, so I really cannot like let it slip into darkness lah, which I did the last time I was here.
Yeah, I mean, in that way, I guess the kids are good for you lah.
They are. I love them to bits.
I mean, today it's funny that we started out with us chatting about the kids because we're gonna talk about. Actually, I'm very appalled by the recent really horrible kids that have gone viral.
Today's theme is kids gone wrong. Kids gone wrong. In Singapore, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite disturbing. So we're going to talk about first the world's worst son, or as the viral video on YouTube, I think some guy commented on it, he called it the worst Singaporean son or something.
One of the
like
more interesting up and coming YouTubers called, I think, Sneaky Sushi or something. He makes really rather interesting videos, I have to say. Kudos to you.
Yeah, we're talking about this guy. So this video of him went viral where he was asking his mother for money and then he slapped her and literally is like slapped across the face.
First the hit on the head and then 2 slaps, I think, on the face.
It was honestly painful to watch. I actually felt a bit teary especially when the mom said, "Then how you treat mommy?" So I was like, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I was like, to bite the hand that feeds you. I mean, honestly, he's asking her for money. That's the worst thing. And so he's annoyed that she wasn't giving him the money. So to be fair to the boy, right, we only know what we know from the video. So we don't know the context.
He could be tied out every night and like whipped. We don't know.
I highly doubt that.
Just saying that like we don't know the full story. So we are only judging on the optics.
Just on the video, like it was quite heart-wrenching because it felt like the mother, it didn't feel like a new thing. You know, that's the first thing. And then like the physicality aside, it was the way in which he treated. I mean, he pointed and he was like, "You speak to me like that, you speak to me like that." It was almost like roles reversed. I mean, this is something that a parent would say to a kid. I mean, you're the parent of 2 young kids, right? Obviously, if they were to be very, you would say something like, "You cannot speak to like daddy like this."
It didn't feel like it was the first time he was doing it lah.
Yeah, and it felt like the physicality, like the actual thing was just to level up, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's gone on to apologize for it. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think about the whole thing, Andy.
I mean, initially when we say I want to talk about this topic, my point was that like, there's almost nothing to talk about because it's like 人神共愤.
Wow, this is
人神共愤. Okay, 人神共愤. That means like the man and the gods are both angry at him, something like that lah. Okay, so like everybody hates him lah. Like basically, like there's no redeeming lah. So there's almost nothing to talk about because like it's just wrong. It's a
clear-cut case.
It's a clear-cut case, yeah, basically. But I also do like as a parent, I always subscribe to the ideology that it can almost always trace back to the parent. Right, so like it has to do. The parent have to bear some part of the responsibility, if not all. It's not so bad in this case because the boy is pretty grown up. He looks like he's 15, 16 maybe. Yeah. So he is almost nearing adulthood. So he has to take responsibility for his actions for sure. But like if you don't draw the line, which the mother like obviously doesn't draw the line clearly, you know, and you look at the things like they are not from a very well-to-do family. Like, I mean, it's like a very very normal family lah. But if you look at the kid's bike, it looks expensive, right? You know, so it feels like he has been given whatever he wanted to lah, or maybe he made his own money. I don't know, but highly unlikely, right? So it feels like the parents really coddled him, and then like they didn't draw very clear lines, boundaries. So like if his exposure was his friends and his family only, like he wouldn't know whether it's right or wrong. Maybe like in the past he slapped his mother lightly and he got money, and then you know what I mean, like, so it's like every time you unknowingly encourage him to use the same method because it worked, right? So it worked, and then he will try a harder version, and then for more money, and then it is a vicious loop.
It's similar to when I see, and this is going to be rather unpopular as well, but when I see like friends with young children and they are like throwing a tantrum because maybe they want the phone or the iPad, after the kid throws enough of a tantrum, then they're like, okay lah, I give you 5 minutes. So you're right, it perpetuates the habit that, okay, if I'm going to kick up a fuss, and the louder and more nasty a tantrum I throw, I'm probably going to get it eventually. Yeah. That's probably the sort of behavior that he was used to. In fact, a clinical psychologist, Carol Hatchett, who saw the video, said the boy appears to be used to getting away with his bad behavior. She also added, I'm not sure why the woman allows the child to abuse her, but if she continues to allow it, it will only get worse as he carries on into adulthood. It's not very normal, but I've seen similar cases where children intimidate their parents, and it's usually from very young that the child has gotten his way. So actually, it's very in line with what you said, because she mentioned stuff about a lot of parents don't know how to set boundaries and say no to their kids. People need to learn to say no to their kids from the age of 3 to 5. I kind of share your view, you know, Andy. Like, I'm no parent myself, but it does, to me, like, just watching it was sad also because it felt like it's not the first time.
Yeah. So, okay, in defense to parents, right? Because the kids, they don't just do like a tantrum once a day, you know, they can do it like so many times. And it really takes a lot out of a parent to constantly be in the battle of wits, right? Because it is, that's exactly what it is. You're always constantly proving your worth, proving that you're alpha. And it sometimes you give up because you have a lot of other things to do. So I have to defend parents for that. But I also but like what you say, like you don't let it get too far. I also have to say that, like, I think a lot of parents sometimes, right, we like to use our superior strength and size to our kids, right? Because recently I just have my sister-in-law had like an argument with the daughter, and the daughter is like turning 10, 11, and like for the first time, like she was about like threatening to like hit her lah, and then she just hold her hand. She's not like trying to attack her or anything, but she's just defending herself. But just from that, right, she could tell like, wow, my daughter is stronger than me already. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it comes to that age, right? Look at the son and the mother in the video. If they were to fight, my money's on the son lah. You know what I mean?
I mean, for teenage
you cannot
boys,
just use physical strength over them, because that power is gonna turn as you age.
So would you say, so you don't, it's interesting because it feels like you were going towards the spare the rod, spoil the child, but I guess you don't believe in like some form of corporal punishment?
It's a last resort lah. It is a last resort, but there are so many other tactics you can use, right? Basically, you know, that you assert your dominance. You can also like basically like for me, I'm a huge advocate of, okay, not advocate lah. I'm a subscriber. Yeah. I'm a subscriber of consequence lah, right? So I always tell them like, if they leave their toys around, then I'll throw it away, and I do all the time. And if I give them an ultimatum, I will do it. I will always do it, you know. And if they throw tantrums, and sometimes it's like they throw tantrums and they get very upset and everything, I wouldn't just throw them in a room or anything. I'll just make them stand, but I'll sit beside them and make sure that they know that I'm with them, but like they know that they cannot get away with it. They just cannot get away. And sometimes it takes like hours even, like just sit there for an hour. Sometimes you have to put in that short-term pain lah. So in the long run, they probably wouldn't be as atrocious lah.
I'm quite for the spare the rod, spoil the child, which is a very Asian, I think, more Asian way of thinking. Like, because my dad, he never spared the rod with us. It was always like, I mean, it wasn't like he would hit us every time, but like if you cross a certain line, right, surely like there will be some form of corporal punishment. Yep. I mean, I think that even though you're not like hitting your kids, making them stand is also some form of corporal punishment. Yeah. I think it's actually a good way. Like it's not violent, but it's also like it's consequential, and it's painful both physically and mentally lah. Right?
They have to pay a consequence. They must understand that there's consequences to their actions. That's basically the baseline.
I think that's a problem. I mean, like just reading a bit more on this particular case, there was a former tenant who used to stay with the family. She also commented that the mother would often dote on her son and buy him gifts such as shoes. She said, I've never seen them quarrel. The boy is usually very polite and quiet. So I think that maybe, there might have been some coddling going on. I want to ask, in this video, who actually posted the video of the boy slapping the mom?
That's actually a key question, right? But nobody knows.
Yeah, because some people say it's the boy himself, because I don't know, maybe he thought he was being. For me, I find it hard to believe, but then it was posted on TikTok, so it's definitely from a young person, I would say, right? And unless it's the mom herself, which I really doubt it, I don't know. But it seems like this generation, they find it quite cool to post things online, and everything is about posting things online, which brings us to the second thing that we're going to talk about, our favorite, just for people who are not getting it. our favorite internet show. Yeah, now he's like famous the world over because we're talking about Amos Yee. Where do we start with this guy? But anyway,
Okay,
let's
let me give you let me maybe give guys a full recap lah, because I actually went
okay,
to
yeah. I think
research
you
properly, because I'm
yeah.
actually quite interested in this guy. What happened is that he came into our attention in 2015 when he actually created a video after our then Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew passed away. Then he made a video basically celebrating his death lah, and comparing him to Jesus and how they are both like actually horrible beings. Wow, like a
Seditious
nation and a religion at the
example.
same time, right? He really is a troll like, in that sense. Like he really knows how to pick painful stuff to say. There was actually like something like 32 charges, police reports made against him. And then he actually was sentenced to 4 weeks for the video, if I'm not wrong. He actually served the sentence, and then he actually tried to go, he went to US and seek asylum before his NS.
Yep.
So he didn't want to serve NS, maybe he doesn't want to stay in Singapore. He claims that the Singapore government is after him. After some controversy, he actually did manage to get asylum in the US, and if he serves the asylum in the US for a year, he might be able to apply for a green card, which is like a permanent residence permit in the US. What happened is that he is being charged with having pedophilic pornographic material. According to the reports, is that what happened is that he has been in contact with a 14-year-old girl online and exchanging nude photos. If he's guilty, then he will probably lose his asylum status and his green card possibility in the US. And then we don't know what's going to happen to him. Either he comes back to Singapore, which he most likely will have to, or I don't know what's going to happen to him lah. And also one more thing, before this thing, he's still an active YouTuber, but he was actually, I wouldn't say promoting pedophilia, but he was defending pedophilia. So again, very trollish lah. Okay, really know how to choose topics that piss people off lah. So that's his full story. What do you think?
I feel like, there are two parts to this that I would like to just comment on. One is, this guy is attention seeking. Right, and it's almost like he's addicted to getting some sort of validation online, even if it's negative validation, it's attention in a way, right? And I guess this goes back to the problem with iGen. Maybe it's just too much reliance on attention from the online space. There's something that's going on there, that we need to address. And I think you mentioned this in like watching The Social Dilemma, which I still haven't watched, but I think everyone should watch, myself included. The second part that I want to mention is about what we're talking about parents. Okay, this behavior is unacceptable. Let's just put that straight out. But then how much of this is also not helped by the parents? So some background on Amos Yee. I think the grandparents helped to raise him as well. So there's been an article on Mothership talking about how his grandfather still misses him and still wants to see him, which I guess is normal because you're still your only grandson. But even though the grandparents had a hand in raising him, he didn't even bother to tell his grandparents that he was going to move to the US, right? Until he stopped visiting, then the grandpa missed him. This time I really felt very sad also lah. The grandpa missed him, then he asked the parents, and the parents said, he moved to the US. But then the grandfather also added that the mother had sent him money for the past 3 years. This guy is 20 years old. And in the US, right, it's semi-easy to get jobs to be a waiter, to wait tables, like very part-time jobs come. I don't know, maybe he really is working, but it sounds like even after everything, the mother is still sending him money. I'm not saying it's the lady's fault, but I'm just asking the bigger picture, how much of this sort of bad behavior or kids gone wrong, as we started this article, this video and saying, is not helped by parents.
Actually, when it comes to the case of Amos, right, I don't necessarily feel it's a case of coddling. Oh, I don't know whether I can say this on. Jack, you help me censor, you help me check out. Okay, anyway, this is how I feel. Okay, I'm going to say it. This is how I feel. I feel like Amos is different, right? He obviously is extremely intelligent, but his brain is not fully mature yet. So he obviously say a lot of stupid things as well. But when he do say smart things, they are very, very smart and quite well thought out and very eloquent. And if you look at his video when he made when he was 16, it was actually very, very well made for a 16-year-old. Right?
Yeah.
And very, very coherent. And the videos and the pictures and everything, he has definitely a talent. We in Singapore, we don't deal with different people well. Right? So when we have that case where he was arrested and everything, I was actually very upset because I was very emotionally affected by our leader passing. All right.
Yeah.
So then I was very angry. But after when I calmed down, I realized that, hey, he's a 16-year-old boy saying his point of view. It could be something we don't want to hear. But is it fair that we put him in prison for 4 weeks for that? If you ask me, it's not fair. Yeah, if you ask me, like my personal opinion.
Really?
It's not fair.
Wow.
He's 16 years old. Why would you do that? He's just saying his opinion. Like putting him into prison, letting him get abused by people publicly, making him who he is, right? In a way, I almost felt like we created this monster ourselves. And we as a
Wow.
nation have to take a certain responsibility. For me,
I
that's how
can't
I
agree
feel.
with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, that's how I
Yeah.
feel. Because he's 16,
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous. Then come this pedophilic thing, which like very hard to defend. Okay. So it made it okay. I have to state initially, I don't think anything he did was right. Right. So a lot of things I don't agree with. Timeline. If he's guilty, he should be charged and everything. He should be sentenced and everything. But I'm saying that there is a part of me that do empathize with him. And like I also feel like, oh, wow, 为什么要把事情弄成这样? And it's sad to me. It's very, very sad, and I feel we really should take a good look at ourselves. Like I said, like when anything happens to a child, the family have to take a look, have to look at themselves and see if they have any responsibility. And I think as a nation, as a society, we also need to take a look at ourselves and see do we have any responsibility in creating a person like that.
Wow. Okay, that is a very alternate opinion, which
Is it?
I can't agree. Like at least, okay,
yeah.
I can't say I agree. It's true that our nation is not the easiest on people who are a little bit different. I mean, even
and
now,
he's not a little bit different. He's freaking very, very different.
Yeah, but I also think that like you can't blame the internet also, but I think maybe there could be ways to deal with this thing, because he can't be the only, I mean, his is very extreme, right? But he can't be the only teenager at 16 who is so desperate for attention that they would do anything, even like to risk negative attention. Right?
I feel like more than like getting attention, he feels to me like he's trying to get approval. He has a very different point of view and has been put down. I mean, this is all my assumption. Like he's been put down all his life probably, and he doesn't feel that his views are wrong. So he wants people to approve his views, point of views. And with this pedophilic case also, right? Because I mean, he's 21, right? So he's an adult now, and he has been doing this illegal thing with a 14-year-old, which is very, very, very wrong, Obviously, I guess at this point of time, you can say he's pedophilic, and he's trying to defend himself, in a way, right? So he's trying to get approval that, hey, it's not wrong. This is my point of view and everything. He can't openly say he's pedophilic and everything, but I think it feels like he's trying to find his place and trying to get approval. I mean, and it's like very desperate call for help. I feel very sad, actually. Every time I see his news, I feel very sad. Very, very, very sad.
Do you think
very depressing this episode?
Yeah. Do you think the parents have anything to do with it?
I don't know, because there isn't a lot of news about and if there is not enough news and everything, and just from like the images and the interviews I've seen, I can't spot anything that like it is the parents' fault. But like I said, like they probably will have to bear some responsibility. But like I really don't know. I really, really don't know. Really don't know.
I mean, none of us know, but it just feels like it could be a lot of factors. So we have to agree or disagree on this. Let us know, actually. We want to know, because Andie and I share very different views on this Amos Yee case. Drop us a line in the comment box below. Tell us what you think about the whole Amos Yee case. Do you think that it's the state's fault? Do you think it's to do with the parents? Do you think it's just him? We want to know. After reading all of this, it just makes me so scared to have kids. Honestly. It's scary, man. You don't know if your kid will one day like slap you across the face. I mean, I can only imagine for Amos Yee, like his parents, they still have to send him money, and then now they got to deal with him, and then he probably has to come back, and I don't know, he might be thrown into jail in Singapore. Yeah. It's like the whole thing is just scary.
I mean, honestly speaking, like there's this movie with Steve Carell from a novel, and then they adapted into a film about his son being a drug addict. It's a very heartbreaking film. But basically, like, it's just, the whole thing is that like sometimes you just don't have control. It's a freaking scary thing. You can do everything right and might just not turn out right. But we try, like in the end, like sometimes you really can't fault yourself, because sometimes it's really just how things panned out. So parents, don't be so hard on yourself, but at the same time, try and educate and try and learn how to increase the odds of having a good kid, so at least you get the best return of investment.
I think that's good advice, and let's leave it at that, because I mean,
very depressed. I'm going to cry already.
Yeah, I so know that. I feel like I actually feel for all the parents.
Yeah,
it's already so hard, and then you get this kind of kids. Walao. So I think yes, I agree with whatever you said. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, but really try to think very hard about how to bring up kids. Oh, I'm gonna hug my like soft toy and my like teddy
Yeah.
bear and I'll leave it at that.
No kids already. No kids for you for sure.